I want to share with you guys what my plans are from here to not just tell you, but actually show you every step along the way of my process from the jump in order to turn a SaaS product ideally into a successful business. If you don't know me, my name is Sean Boyce, and I've been building SaaS products for years in a bootstrapped way and mostly part time. If you have any goals to do anything even related to that, my plan is to help you succeed. If you've tuned into my content before, what I've been doing is typically sharing with you my lessons learned and strategies, tips, tricks, all kinds of stuff that ultimately have helped me in terms of what I learned in practice between what works and what doesn't to turn SaaS products ultimately into successful businesses. But I'm going to go a step further than that now. What my plan is to no longer just tell you, I want to show you. So what I want to do is another strategy that's pretty popular is I basically want to build in public, but with you every step of the way. And I'm going to start from scratch. So there's a couple of ideas that I've been thinking about working on. I've got context for all of it, and I'm going to share that with you too. So stick around to the end of this content, and I'll talk to you more about the idea that I'm likely to pursue. But I'm also going to go through with you each step of the larger categories of what we're going to accomplish as part of attempting to build together. And I'm going to document every step along the way and share it with you. The all important first stage of trying to build a successful SaaS product and try to turn that into a legitimate business is you need to identify a problem worth solving. So that's going to be the first big category of content that I'm going to focus on as I'm workshopping my idea and attempting to validate it. So I'm going to walk you through each of those steps of the way to make sure that in the end, what we ultimately produce is something someone in our target market needs. Once we've validated that we've identified a problem we're solving and we're okay to move forward, the next stage or phase is largely going to be focused around designing everything that we need. Everything from the business model in a basic way, all the way to and through design and building what becomes our prototype or our official version one that we're then going to release to users. We're going to track that usage because that's a key first milestone. And then we're actually going to sell it to them as well, also, because we need to charge for our SaaS product in order to turn it into a business. So I'm going to walk you through everything as part of this stage as well also and record that content along the way so that you can engage with it too. So once we've built our version one and we're trying to sell it to our customers and then track that engagement, the next most important step is to measure how effectively everything is going. So that's going to include likely anything from trying to sell the SaaS product in, again, various different ways, all the way to and through measuring their experience, trying to better understand how well that's performing, and then rolling those lessons learned back into anything else we can do to make the product better and increase its chances of becoming a successful business. Let's talk about the problem that I would like to validate is ultimately worth solving. So I got connected with a lawyer in my network, and they informed me more about a challenge they're having, and then knowing more about my background, the fact that I use technology, in particular SaaS, to solve problems like these in oftentimes a B2B way, which is what this would be. They shared the details with me and they wanted to know more about whether or not I could help them. So here's some of that context. When I connected with them, they shared more with me about basically what is elements of their business model that are frustrating, challenging, but still important problems to be solved because it's a critical aspect of their business. And it has to relate to basically how lawyers charge for their services. If you're unfamiliar, lawyers typically provide services and ultimately charge on a hourly basis or based on their time. Sometimes this is referred to as T&M or time and materials. But basically that's how it works. Whatever it is you need them to do, they'll do it. They'll track how long it took. They'll have an hourly rate, usually very expensive, depending on the lawyer. Then that's what ultimately translates into the invoices that they'll send you that ultimately you're expected to pay. Now, the problem potentially in this case is, among other things, nobody likes doing that. Not just paying the bills, but the lawyers themselves get frustrated with the challenges of having to just manage all of that admin, right? They have to track all their work very closely. Some of them bill on like a fraction of an hour, basically, and that translates to a certain amount on the invoice or whatever. But it's tedious, it's time consuming, it's painful, and it's work that they need to do, which is still critical to like the revenue they bring in. But the more time they spend doing it means they have less time to ultimately do the work itself, which that can kind of negatively affect the revenue they generate for their business. So, as you can see, there's a bit of a mess here, and those are good signs and symptoms of potential problems worth solving when this stuff starts to layer on. And the more you pile it on, the more painful it becomes, the more time consuming it becomes, the greater all of that stuff adds to the challenge. the more you start to look like you have a potential opportunity to solve this in a way, turn that into a successful solution, but ultimately scale that as well to potentially into a successful business. So that's where we're going to focus. I'm going to share with you more of the details of the context that I've learned thus far, who I've been interacting with, and what that means. Then we're going to look to further validate it as we move forward through the steps in the process that I'd mentioned previously. I definitely want to engage with you as we're moving forward through this process together. I'm going to be showing you everything that I can every step of the way, and I would love to hear from you. Please provide some feedback if you have it, regardless of what it is. If you have questions about what I'm doing or what I'm not doing, even if you have suggestions about other ways to do these things or how you do them, and they very well may be better, right? We can learn from each other. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. So I want to increase as much engagement here as possible. And I'm really excited to kind of go through this process with you guys because most of the time I'm doing it by myself. So I want to share the cool things I'm doing and the lessons I'm learning along the way with you so that you can learn from those and you can apply those to whatever it is you want to do with your Bootstrap SaaS products as well also. So having said that, look out for more content relatively soon as I'm going to be diving into following this process and trying to turn what is ideally a problem we're solving into a successful SaaS business.